Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the part 2 video. And I wanted to let you know a little bit about my teenage years. Now, there is going to be some drama that happened in this video. This was during my younger teenage years. And what was I want to tell you that I'm not going to over exaggerate with the drama. It really happened the way it happened. And maybe some of you out there could relate to this, because sometimes as we grow into adulthood, our childhood is what molds us into being the people we've become. So that's why I wanted to share this video with you. So I'm going to start off in 1993, right there in the ballpark area in Salt Lake City. There's a park just like 2 blocks north. I grew up next to the park. The house, they recently tore it down. It was a real old house, but they tore it down. But back in 93, we had like the best snow. We had a lot of snow come down, and they called the National Guard down to come clean up, and they put the all the snow in the parking lot of the ballpark. Back then, okay, that was a little bit after Dirks Field, and it got called Franklin's Quest Field. So they did all that, and us kids, we had our sleds, we have our tubes, or we would find something to go over there and make ramps. You play at your own risk, because there was also boulders over there. You could get hurt. Excuse me for my stuttering, but anyway, so that was part of our childhood growing up in the early teens. And then a little bit later, kind of reality struck in. Like a lot of stuff you would see on these movies, like these movies came out earlier. Like, let's say, for example, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. I started seeing that those were like reality in our neighborhood. Those were like real things that happened. So the night before 6th grade, I was getting ready going to sleep, and 3 cars drove by in front of the house, and they all started shooting at each other. And this is something you've seen off a movie. I remember I looked out the window and everything. My dad, he was yelling at me, telling me to get on the ground, stay down. And the aftermath, after these cars split up at the end of the street, the whole block was lit up in smoke. They were just randomly shooting at each other. We had 2 neighbors, this guy and his son that just moved in the house 2 houses away. And, they thought they came to the best neighborhood, and a bullet went right through their door. And it's at they still got the same door till this day. And none of the bullets hit where I lived. But they were just randomly flying. These cars went by, they're just shooting at each other. And it was something that I got to see firsthand, and it didn't scare me, because I kind of knew all that. So anyway, that night ended up turning to be a really bad night. My neighbors panicking. Something happened in our family as well. I don't want to dive too deep into that on this video. Maybe later, I'll talk about it later, but as for right now, I don't want to dive too deep in that. So the next day, I didn't end up going to school, but my school found out about what happened, and they sent the counselors to me to talk to me if I needed to talk to somebody and stuff like that. And I'm still young. I'm still soaking all of this in, all this reality, and I got to see how things really are. Prior to that, I got a phone call one morning. It was actually, I am the one that answered the phone. It wasn't for me, but I answered. It was my aunt, and she was telling me that one of my cousins, he just got shot the night before, and the guy who shot him, he was only 18. Now, when you're 12 years old and somebody's 18, you're thinking 18's that's kind of old, but it's really not. So he ended up passing away from his gun wound. I had another cousin of mine who was out partying and went to the wrong party, and things happened there. He took one in the head, but he lived. And it's just, when you're going through all this stuff as a child, you kind of start feeling like, is there any hope for me? Like, they're my family members. What's going on here? Are we, we just don't know. So growing up, that's what happened over there. But eventually, life went on, and we got to see how things were really going on. when I started watching these movies like Boys in the Hood or Menace to Society, stuff like that, it was like I could relate to that easy because it was going on in my neighborhood. It was going on, and it is what it was. I mean, there'll be shootings sometimes. A lot of times the cops wouldn't even show up. I mean, you would think cops would show up, but they never didn't. So that's just how it was. This was in the 90s. This was like 90. This was like 95, 94. I mean, it was going on before, but it got worse back like in the mid 90s. So, that was that. And I know a lot of you out there, you didn't grow up in the best neighborhood as well where you live. And it's just people, you could change the sceneries. You could update all the real estate, but you can't change the people. And that's what seems to be a lot of the problem in the world. But I wanted to share that with you because that was a part of my life that made me really wonder, how much time do I have? I mean, are we an extinction coming, or, we just didn't know. So being a young kid, I was barely starting sixth grade. So anyway, started going to school, went to school, and things were, starting to balance out, whatever. And, I eventually in junior high, I kind of started messing around a lot. I ended up going to a middle school in the west side of Salt Lake, and I started messing up a lot. I didn't know if that affected me from that before, but I seen the kind of students that was going to my school, and they were like really similar to me. Like they grew up in a similar environment. So as time went on, seventh, I ended up going to high school. And I was excited to go to high school, but it felt like every time I went to a new school, I was going to get tested. I was always going to get tested because within where I lived in like a 10-mile boundary, it's like a lot of us students, a lot of us kids, I should say at that time, were all going through something because our other generations something was going on. And I seen a lot of things happen in my high school years too. I lost a lot of friends back then too, and a lot of them ain't around anymore. So I ended up dropping out of high school when I was a 10th grader. I dropped out. I was getting in trouble with the law too. And I remember going to detention a couple of times. I had this Judge Valdez. So if you watch this video, Judge Valdez, I actually really thank you for the information you gave me. So let me tell you what this judge told me one time after he locked me up a couple times in juvenile hall. He told me like this one time. He met me at the probation office, pulled me to the side, and took a picture with me. And he told me after the picture was done, he said, "You want to know something? The reason I'm hard on you," he goes, this was his exact words. He goes, "Because a lot of people make our people look bad." He goes, "And I could see you're better than that." He goes, "I know you don't understand right now." He goes, "But when you get older, you will." At that time, I'm like, what does this guy know? Whatever. But as time went on, I mean, if I could see the guy now, I would want to shake his hand because it really soaked in years later, So, but he was a strict judge. He was really strict. A lot of people said, he was strict more on the Hispanic kids. And that was the reason why he told me. But after getting in trouble, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to continue going to school. All my friends were kicked out of high school already. They're all, getting into some kind of trouble. And I decided I'm going to drop out, get a job. And after I got a job, eventually I got in trouble with the law again. I went back to see this judge. And the judge told me, "You just don't learn. So I'm going to put you into my school unless you get back in school this summer." So I went back to school. I got out of I never was kicked out of my high school, but I went to an alternative school, and that's where I finished my high school. And that was during the time that's when 9/11 happened. I remember I wasn't sure exactly what happened. They wouldn't let us watch the news at school, and that's when 9/11 was going on. I was getting ready to graduate, and yeah, it was just crazy times. Crazy times happens to all of us, but I hope you're getting ready for video part 3 and part 4, because I want to kind of let you know where I decided to make a pivot in life. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. And if you like this video, subscribe or follow wherever you're at. Thank you. Bye.